I started pretending with music before leaving Alabama. I've always headed towards music somehow or other. I think I was born to learn whatever I have to learn through music. And I would sit at the piano and bang, bang, bang until my aunt got a headache. And, and then in Los Angeles, I've always been a pack rat. And I was recycling before they even got the name together. I found a music book and a pencil that was about that long, the ones you have to bite off the wood to get
Yes.
to the lid.
Yes.
And I walked around scribbling in this book, pretending I was writing music. I was somewhere around 11, 12, when a teacher told my mother that she might want to give me voice lessons. So my mother took me to a voice teacher. The teacher said, maybe wait till she's 13, because the body is still developing. Well, now my mother, when she was growing up, wanted to take the violin. And her choir teacher told her mother that she should take voice lessons. So my mother decided she's going to pull a coup. Her parents want her to take voice lessons. So she said she'll take the voice lessons if she could have her violin lessons. It was one of the world's unsuccessful coups. So as a result of that, she was fully and thoroughly in back of giving me the voice lessons. When she couldn't pay for them anymore, she went to there was a Turnabout Theater in Beverly Hills. She worked there. And we knew the guys, the Yale puppeteers. And we would go over on Saturdays and help her finish work early so we could go to the farmer's market downtown. And so that we all knew the guy. It was like a family.
Yes.
And she told the guys she couldn't pay for my lessons anymore. And so they had her bring me, and I sang for them. And Harry Burnett, the puppeteer, started sponsoring my voice lessons until I got out of high school and working, and I could afford my own lessons. So it was predestined, I guess. It was just...
And you had a passion for this, and you knew it at an early age. Yes.
It wasn't my middle name, it was my first name.
I think I see. That's pretty passionate. And did you learn to play an instrument around the same time?
No.
No.
So at 13, I started with the voice lessons. And at the age of 18, at the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, in the summertime, was a production of Finian's Rainbow. And I auditioned for the chorus, and I got into the chorus. The next year, we did it again, and that was in Los Angeles at the Greek Theater. And in San Francisco, they had, at the Opera House, oh dear, I'll find it, Guys and Dolls.
Yes.
So we finished our gigs there, and then we exchanged places. I was 19, and first time away from home.
Uh-oh.
And sophisticated. Oh, funny.
Big time, huh?
2 days. I'm sick.
Yes.
Well, I had gone to school, junior high school, with a woman by the name of Joanne Shannis. I hung out with Joanne. She told me took me and her, we heard a little folk music here, a little folk music there. Lost track of each other. But when I got up to San Francisco, she heard on the grapevine I was in, so they found me. She, by this time, was married to Paul Mapes. So they found me, and I started hanging out with them. Now, I started hanging out with what I think was the last generation of the Bohemians. After that, we became Beats and this and that. But it's the same. It's another name. And the bars had closed in San Francisco at 2. So we would leave the bar, which was really romantic. I'm 19 now.
Very grown up.
It had sawdust on the floor. I couldn't stand that stuff now for nothing. But it was romantic in those days. Okay. So when the bar closed, we went up to Joe and Paul's apartment, and it was romantic. It was the top floor, and it was the beams coming down here and coming down here. And people would sit around playing guitars and singing these songs all night long. And we had Gallo wine. Isn't it amazing what has happened to Gallo?
Yes.
Well, in those days, I just look at a glass of wine and I was gone.
Yes.
That's what they call a cheap date.
Yes.
Well, evidently the grandchildren have brought Gallo up to quite something in the wine.
Yes.
Well, you know, what I understand is that when there was a drought in Europe, first of all, the vines in the States came from Europe. So when there was a drought, Europe came over here and got a little snippet here and a little snippet there, took it back. So all it is in the making of the wine,
yes.
not where it comes from.
That's right.
Okay. So they were singing songs in these gatherings that had to do with my concerns, my fury, my hate, my resentment, and
from the wounds.
For the wounds. Along with the wounds was Hollywood's presentation of us as blacks. So there was the portrayal of us as blacks in the Hollywood films. And I hark back now to when I was in grammar school and the feeling that if it were in a book, they couldn't put it in the book if it were not true. And I remember reading in history book a historian who said that the slaves were happy and singing all the time. I remember my objecting to serfdom and anything that was where there were people taking advantage of other people. And then this man told me that my people were happy and singing all the time. I believed it. So in San Francisco, I'm hearing these songs, and the songs that got to me the deepest were the prison work songs. I could sing those songs, and no one would know where I began and the prisoner ended, right? We weren't in a place where we could discuss and talk about anything. And we certainly wouldn't say, I hate you and I hate me and I'm, okay. So it was an excellent purging thing for me. And I remember when I first started, I would sing these prison songs and people would jump up screaming. And it was mostly to shuck that negative that I put out there, And it got to a point where doing the music actually healed me. And after a while, I couldn't do the prison songs anymore. I was not happy acting them out. Before I was the prisoner and singing it. And John Henry was the first song that I got up and walked out of my door. I mean, years later, someone requested John Henry. I started singing it. I was very unhappy with it and just said, well, he's gone.
The very first time that you worked as a professional,
Actually, it wasn't a professional. I would be amateur at this time.
Okay.
It was in Los Angeles. I got back to Los Angeles from San Francisco. And it's amazing to me. It may have happened to you also. When you get interested in something, here come guides. You just don't know how that works. You bless it, but you don't know how it works. And that's a good thing, too. And so a woman loaned me a guitar. She had her husband and her children and her house, and she wasn't going to use it anymore. So she showed me some chords, C, G, and easy F, and gave me a capo. Therefore, I could go 3 keys even. And as I hung around people doing folk music, word got out, you know, and there were people who were putting on benefits in order to make enough money to mimeograph something that they needed to put out the word on. When I came around the folk music area, we were taking around petitions to save Ethel and Julius Rosenberg.
Yes.
So I've always been around the political and
the activism.
So I'm not quite sure I've answered your question.
Yes, you have.
Okay.
Yes,
right.
that's fine. What is Baby?
That was my first guitar.
Where did you tour after you left San Francisco? You were there working for a while. You said in Phineas Rainbow.
Then in Los Angeles.
And then in Los Angeles.
And singing for benefits.
Yes.
And then visiting Jo Mapes.
Yes.
And her daughter, my goddaughter. And she took me by the Hungry Eye.
Yes.
And she pulled a trick on me and had me sing there for Enrico Benducci.
Oh, yes.
And he offered me a job.
Yes.
So I went back to Los Angeles, got my stuff together, and the man who was working there then, who will remain nameless, said that I couldn't work there except on his night off. But that's all right. I worked on Wednesdays.
In the Hungry Eye?
Hungry Eye.
Oh.
And I didn't belong to the union. Mm-hmm. Now, those catch-22s, you got to work to get money to join the union, but you can't join the union if you don't
have the money.
So I snuck it and worked it and did it on Wednesdays, and had moved up to San Francisco. And Joe talked to Peggy Toke Watkins, who owned the Tin Angel, and I was singing at a place called the Cable Car Village.
Oh.
And it was a jazz place, and one day, one evening, the man who was in charge of all this was a slippery-tongued devil. I mean, he was clever. He was brilliant with his language and his cons, right?
I like that description.
So he said that the band that was there decided they didn't want to do another set, so I'd have to do another set. So I said, okay, you pay me what you pay them, and I'll do another set.
All right.
Well, now, I had been being brought up around unionism.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So one night, Jo Mapes brought Peggy Toke Watkins by. Peggy and I talked, and she made out the whole deal. She says, now, if I think you'll work at the Tin Angel, I'll buy you a drink when you finish. So I sang, and I came back and went up over to her. She says, why don't you come to the Tin Angel to get your drink?
Oh.
And that was the beginning.
That was the beginning.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I know that Paul Mapes, didn't he own the Gate of Horn, or he booked? No.
That was Albert Grossman, and that was in Chicago.
Because I thought that you had performed at the Gate of Horn as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes.
As a matter of fact, when I first, the Grapevine was fantastic in those days. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, I was quite large then. I think I was pregnant for about 9 years. The length of an elephant.
But no more. You want to start?
But word got around pretty fast, okay? You know
Yes, yes, we're okay.
And I got a message from Albert Grossman in Chicago, a place called the Gate of Horn. So I went to Chicago, and outside of Gate of Horn was standing Big Bill Brunsey, who lived there in Chicago, and Josh White, who had just finished a gig there. And they wanted to make sure their little sister was going to get along okay.
Besides Josh White and Big Bill Brunsey, will you talk about some of the other people who helped you in those early years of your career? Were there any others you would like to mention?
Well, I just met people. Somehow or other, I think my guardian angel, who was my maternal grandmother, her name is Mama Lizzie, did all the work.
I did all of the work. And then the doors opened for you to perform at places like the Newport Folk Festivals, I understand, and Carnegie Hall. You recorded 16 records in the 60s, is that accurate?
I guess so.
Did you ever compose any music during that time?
I've always been shy of composing. Because I might compose something and sing it, and somebody sees something about me that I haven't seen yet.
I see.
And I admire people who can just spill it out there. I really do. So I'm really a song interpreter. They kind of choose me. There are songs that I would love to do, but I can't seem to find them. They don't seem to fit. And there's one song I remember hearing in Joe and Paul's apartment, and I was homesick, and it's called I'm My Mother's Child, and I haven't been able to find it yet. And then there are songs, some songs I start, and they fight themselves. And there was once, what's his name? Larry Moore and I, we would do duets together. And one song we practiced, and it had a tendency to go fast.
Yes.
And then it would have a tendency to go slow. So I said to Larry, okay, when we do the song, if it's going too fast, I'll wink my left eye. And if it's going too fast, I'll wink my right eye. And it was going to something, and I forgot which eye I said. Well, that was the end of that.
But Odetta, you are known to do research about folk songs. Will you talk a little bit about that? Why you feel it's important to do that?
I researched the researchers. That was the important work.
Yes, that's
because
good.
they kept our history there for us. My area and my assignment is to bring as much as this together as possible, bringing it together, mixing it with what is going on now. Similar things called differently. You know, it's like downsizing means you have lost your job, honey.
Yes, that's right. Plain and simple. Yes, yes. When you came out with Odetta and the Blues in 1962, many of your purist folk fans took offense to your change.
I heard about that.
In style, but you...
I didn't know. I didn't know it.
What was your... Well, you didn't know, but how would you respond to that now?
I'm glad I didn't know.
Okay.
I don't know how you sit and discuss with someone something that you feel you want and must do.
Yes.
I don't know how to excuse myself, nor would I want to.
Because you also, throughout your career, you have done all kinds of songs, if I remember. And you recorded an album of Bob Dylan's songs in 1965. Did Mr. Dylan help you with the album?
Actually, we threw him out of the recording session.
And why was that?
Well, it was at RCA Victor. And we had run into each other a few times. I didn't really know him, nor do I really know him now. And
but he was your protege, I understand.
well, he took what he needed from me and went on with his stuff. Okay.
Yes, yes.
So he came by RCA with his entourage, and I said, "Oh no, I'm not going to have the writers sit up here telling me I didn't mean it like that." He says, "Well, can I correct some words?" And he went through the words. He had given the publisher tapes, and they copied down the words, transcribed the words. And then those were the words that I got. So there were a few words that, or some, many, maybe, that were not really fully understood. So he corrected those words. And I said, "Now you got to get out." And he understood.
Of course he
Yeah.
did. Odetta, have you ever performed with the symphony?
Yes.
Yes, which ones?
The Boston Symphony, one. And that one was with Boys Choir of Harlem
Oh.
and Kathleen Battle.
Oh, fantastic.
There were several symphonies quite some years ago. Well, we traveled around to maybe 3 symphonies whose names I don't
Yes.
remember.
Were you ever in an opera?
Yes.
Which one?
Be Glad Then America, and it was for the centennial. And John Lamontagne took the words of the fathers of the country, speeches and whatever, and made an opera out of it. And Caldwell, what is her first name?
So?
Sarah Caldwell.
Yes.
Was the conductor, and it was at the University of Pennsylvania. And I remember they had a choir over here and a choir over there, and I played the muse of something.
A muse is a good word for you. The muse of liberty.
Liberty.
All right. Your original musical training was European classical, as you said before, and more suited to an operatic style. Would you say that?
Well, what?
When you were in college and studying European classical music, was that more suited to an operatic style?
You could say that. However,
You could say that, yes.
I had a teacher who said that all he could do was teach someone how to stay out of the way of their throat and just produce the sound. Now, the way they came out was the lore and the tradition of whatever field they wanted to go into. If they wanted to be a pop singer, that's what they would take on. Opera singer, that's what they would take on. So anything you wanted to be was really in your imagination and what you were driving towards.
But when you were in the opera and you played the Muse of Liberty, did you still feel that your passion was folk?
The spotlight isn't on it, but it's very much alive. And an awful lot of what is happening today is that those who have been influenced by folk music are writing their own things. They say influenced by folk music as opposed to Tin Pan Alley,
Yes.
or opera, or whatever, yeah.
Do you think that the young folk performers are singing or playing from their hearts? Are they the interpreters that you say that you are of people's history?
There's an awful lot of me, mine, as if anybody gives a damn about what their coffee was cold.
Yes.
You know, but they'll catch up.